And just in case anybody's just not tuning in, we're talking about domestic violence, and we're talking to Sharon Jackson Smith, and she's telling us about some of the signs, what help there is on Fort Hood. There's also help in the community too, but we're talking about the signs, what it looks like, what it is. That's more than just the physical part of beating somebody. There's the emotional part, the neglect part, so many parts of it, but it's still, the one thing is still abuse, and we need to get away from it. We need to, and women, I'll say as well as men, but need to learn how to walk away from it, because once you're in it, you're in it. Not to say you're in it for life, but once you're in it and it's embedded in you, it's hard to leave. Now, last year I was talking to some ladies who from the Killeen Police Department, Harker Heights, and she works Bell County, and they were saying it takes women 5 to 7 times before they actually leave permanently.
Right. In a lot of cases. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, at FAP, Family Advocacy, is a training side. We also have a clinical side. But we say that that's the most dangerous time when you plan or you try to leave. Right. So you have to have a safety plan. So we have our victim advocates at Fort Hood also. They they work with alleged victims to help them develop safety plans. We have our behavioral health program, which is our Department of Social Work Services. That's the clinical side of family advocacy program. They work with the counseling part, the therapy side, with adults and children. Victim advocates, on the other hand, will only work with the adult phase, whereas we have Military One Source. It's a 1-800 number. They can call them and get some assistance there too. 1-800 telephone number that they can call. We give it to our military, and they are aware of it. And when they call Military One Source or Army One Source, they can take counseling sessions off post, and Family Advocacy will pay for it. Right. Several sessions off post. If they choose to go off post compared to coming on post to our behavioral health program. But yeah, that's a very dangerous time in a alleged victim's life, trying to leave. And then if you have children, it's more dangerous because they're there. So you're going to have to make sure you have important documentations ready, that emergency suitcase somewhere, maybe an emergency telephone or a cell phone somewhere. You know, just some safety tips and steps that you have to go through. So we want to make sure they get in touch with the right person to help them prepare for that. And then sometimes they just take off and they have no help. You want to be aware of the community resources, agencies in the community that you can get that help with.
You know, it was at the school I work at elementary school. And yes, ma'am. We found out that a parent was in an abusive home, and she wanted to know how to leave. Yeah. Well, she didn't trust. Well, okay, she didn't trust. She called the police department and talked to that right person, but she didn't feel comfortable with that She just was too nervous. So she asked, was there any steps that she could take? So what we did is we had the nurse call her to tell her one of her kids was sick, and she had to come to school. Okay, so she came to the school. And that's how we got her there. Because that was the easy one. She got to come at that point. When she came, we told her to, okay, everybody don't laugh at what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it. Right. We told her that day by day, take all of her important papers and the women's personal thing that women use. We told her to stick all her papers in there because no one's going to go in that bag and look for anything. We told her nobody's going to go in there. That's the safest bag in your whole house because no one's got to go in there to look for anything. So she would start sticking things in there. Right. And then one day she took out the trash, and someone came to pick the trash up, because it wasn't trash, it was clothes that they needed, but it's trash. So someone picked up the trash. So we slowly made a way for her to leave. Okay. And finally she let us know through other means that she was ready. So we called her again, told her kids were sick. At that time, we had a place for her to go to. We told her kids were sick. high fever, the whole thing. That not to throw any secrets if he had thought about it, because hey, if your kid's sick, you got to come and get them.
Right.
Well, when she got to school, she was gone away. She had a bus ticket to where she wanted to go, so we got her to the bus station, her and her kids, and gone. But we didn't know. We had to learn what to tell her.
Right.
Because when she came to us, we were like,
that's great. Okay,
let's quickly come up with what we said. So through talking to different people who actually deal with it more than we do, gave us some secret little things to tell her as a plan, and we did it, and it worked. We're like, wow, okay, but us in school, it was easy for us to say, your kids, so you gotta come pick them up.
Right.
That was, it was easy to do, to say, to help her, but we did find out the little steps, and all in all, it took her a week,
right,
to do what she needed to do, but she's gone, and that's it to that one. And
that's right. Yeah, that's good. You have to use your resources. You have to have a network of support system,
right,
in place. And sometimes, victims, the abuse is so severe, and then sometimes it's not so severe, but it's just chaotic.
Right.
Everything's out of control, and perpetrators are very intelligent, and they're smart, just like everybody else. And their mission is to maintain power and control. And whether it's through financial abuse, it can be physical, emotional, neglect, whatever. Just shutting down that alleged victim, shut them down, emotionally controlling.
How do you deal with the cultures? Because, in certain cultures, the man can have many girlfriends. In certain cultures, him making sure she's submissive is part of the culture. So, but when it goes too far and she's wrapped up all the way in it, are you all set to deal with that?
With cultures,
yeah,
it's interesting. People coming from all over the world, and we look at the regulations and the policies that we have in place. And we want to make sure they are aware of that. The latest one that we've updated or we've gotten information on is interfering with an emergency phone call. For example, if you are in need and you need some help, you dial 911.
Correct.
And if someone takes that phone away from you and hangs that phone up, that's interfering with an emergency phone call, and it's against the law. And even the first arrest of interfering with an emergency phone call is considered a Class A misdemeanor, with 1 year in jail time and up to $4,000 fine. We also have what is called the military no contact order that we use on Fort Hood in our military installation setting, and that's with the leadership, the commanders, the soldiers. And they can use that military contact minimum of 72 hours, maximum 7 days, to separate that alleged perpetrator, who is an active duty service member, to have no contact with that alleged spouse or victim. And on the other hand, if it's a civilian husband, and the wife is active duty, then they can use it with that active duty spouse that's female. And they would pull her out of the home and for protection, use the military no contact order. And then it becomes a legal issue too. So the MPs, military police, local police authorities are there too. When you're looking at civilian side, 911, making sure you get in touch with a victim advocate, maybe with the local police department or the county sheriff department, or whoever that might be. Learning where your shelters are, telephone numbers, having them in secure places, not forgetting that. And I don't know, it's just a lot going on. If you leave a child in a vehicle for longer than 5 minutes, it's against the law, according to the Texas Penal Code.
Yes, it is.
Here in Texas. And you know that child is under the age of 7, not attended by someone that is 14 or older. It's a Class C misdemeanor. Because kids, they suffocate in vehicles, especially during the summer months. It gets hot, and we don't want to be in violation of that law.
But it's the car gets hot, but it's also the fact that you left this little short person in the car, And kids are smarter than we think. And not only might they die in their car, they might get out of their car and start walking around somewhere because they're curious. Kids are curious. They're supposed to be at that age. They're supposed to be curious. That's how they learn the boundaries and everything. And they can get out the car and just do what they normally do, walk around, see what's going on, or come look for you, and you can't be found. And that's also abuse and neglect.
Unsupervised. They're not supervised. And we have also on Fort Hood, we have a home alone policy, and it's a 3-core Fort Hood regulation. And basically with that regulation, children have to be supervised if they are under the age of 10. And it says children 10 and under or younger, and in the 11th grade, 11 years old, and the 5th grade will be under direct supervision, meaning line of sight at that age. Then we have an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 6th grade will have monitor supervision. Then we have a 12-year-old, 11-year-old that's in the 6th grade. They can be left unattended no more than 6 hours within a 24-hour reporting time or period. Teenagers, 13 to 15, 8 hours. And then we have that teenagers 16 to 18, 12 hours home alone. But that's only on Fort Hood. If you're off post, there is no home alone policy.
There's no home alone.
But if you have some concern, if that child is a certain age, you call the local police department and question them about it. You know, how old can I leave my child home? I don't know. They'll tell you. But let's say you have a 3-year-old home alone, maybe with a 5-year-old home alone, and they're there by themselves and have an infant there, and you have some concern because you haven't seen parents or adults coming in and out, or just like they're not there, and they're coming over maybe asking for food, or maybe just out playing till it's too dark, and you have some concern, and then you can call 911 and ask the police department to do a welfare check. They'll swing by and check it out, make sure they're okay, and from that point they know what to do. CPS, protective services.
Question about the abuse. Do men now come out, or do they just still stay in the shadows because they're the man? Do they come out and say, you know, I'm in an abusive relationship, or do they still just hold it in and take it like a man because they are men?
Well, I'll start with it this way, and this is part of our little spiel we do, our training that we do, is that we know for a fact that men are abused. And if there's 14 men in a class that I'm doing, statistics tell me that at least 1 out of every 6 or 7 men are victims of abuse, as well as 1 out of every 3 women are victims of domestic violence. 2 of those men out of that group of 14 are victims or will be in their lifetime. Those are statistics that tell me that.
Wow. And once again, just in case anybody's listening, we're talking about domestic violence, which is also the month of October. It's the issue that I still say we sweep it under the carpet because we don't even talk about it. At our school, when we had Friday Breast Cancer Day, I wore purple. Yeah, I know people looked at me really weird, but I said you are supporting cancer, and I'm supporting domestic violence. But we have Sharon, he was on here talking about domestic violence and what it is, what it looks like, and what it's not. And the beginnings, because the person who's the abuser shows you signs when you first meet them, but you're in this cloud, as you were saying. You're more worried about how you're supposed to be looking and how you're going to dress and all these hyped up things about the first date. So when you're talking, you're not paying attention that he might treat that waitress like, oh my God, substandardly, and he might talk about his mother or sisters or whatever kind of bad. And all you're going to say is, oh my God, he came from a bad family. I feel so sorry for him. In actuality, he's telling you about himself and not. But in those phases that you were talking about, you're listening to your heart, not your head, because your head will be saying, oh no, you need to think about this. And so So what you're saying is that when you first meet somebody, that first time, instead, yes, worry about your nails and your hair and your clothes, but also listen.
Right. And just pay attention. If you know yourself and you know what's right and you know what's wrong and you know what's healthy and you know what's not healthy, men that get abused, they don't want to tell because it's not the normal thing to do.
Right.
And it's the masculinity and abuse. That man being abused, no, it's not a mix there. And if they go tell their buddies they hang out with that my wife's hitting me, beating me down every night, physically. Yeah. Oh, what's the response going to be from his buddies?
You're not a man.
Hey.
Yeah, you're not a man because you can't take care of your house.
But the thing is, it's not only physical; it's emotional stuff too.
Right.
And sometimes we have to seek some support. And it could be checking in to see an MFLAG. If they're veterans and have been in the military, there are 1-800 numbers and support services for them as well. It's just all kinds of resources out there today. And there's no excuse. You have the VA in Temple and Waco that have services that are available for our troops.
And also, if you live outside and you want to know what's available where, dial 211. And if you dial 211 and say what your issue is, you will be directed to the right person and the right phone numbers to contact. So yes, 911 is for your emergency, but if you're into a situation and you don't know who to call, then you dial 211 and it'll get you to where you need to go also for any kind of help. And also 211 sometimes is a little safe because if the person doesn't know what that means, they won't know what you're doing.
Right.
Because they only know the one thing is 911. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming on this morning and talking about domestic violence. And I do plan on doing the funeral again for domestic violence in April because I was told I needed to do it again. So I'm gonna do it again, and I hope you're there. Okay. And I need to talk to you too because I have a skit that I want done for domestic violence.
Okay.
It was in my head, so I need to get it out of my head and get it moving so we can get it going. Okay. But I want to thank you for coming on this morning to talk about domestic violence.
You are so welcome.
But now we're going to talk about Monday. Everybody knows what Monday is. I know you're going to go, no, I don't really. It's the first day you can really vote. And we need to get out there and make sure our vote is counted. Those of you who think your vote doesn't count, if it didn't count, then Texas and North Carolina and all these other states wouldn't be trying to deny your right to vote. So it must mean something because they're trying to deny your right to vote and make it harder for you to vote. So you know what? Monday, get out there, exercise your right to vote, get it done. Do early voting, please. Early voting is from the 24th of October to the 4th of November. So please vote. You can look in your newspapers or go to your county's website and find out the locations of where you can go vote at. In Killeen is the community center and the county annex on Priest Drive. And in the good part about early voting is every city in Bell County, you can vote anywhere for your early voting. It doesn't matter which place you go that's open for early voting, you can go on early voting. Election day, you gotta go to your precinct. So please exercise your right to vote. Also, there's going to be an event next Saturday, the 29th, from 3 to 8 p.m. It's called Praise in the Park. It's going to be at Long Branch Park. And it's being sponsored, well, this year, because I think we had one last year too. But the Word of Knowledge Ministries Church is sponsoring Praise in the Park next Saturday from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Long Branch Park, and it's free and open to the public. I want to thank everyone for listening to KISS Community Connections 103.1 KISS FM. I hope you learned a lot today and you take it into heart and make it your marching orders. But I want you to always remember, you cannot lead a positive life with a negative mind. And we'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye now.